Playing against the Grandmaster is one of the most exciting things you can do as a chess player. However, it's something that happens very rarely. When it happens though, you want to really give it a proper try and play your very best. On this day, I was playing an incredibly strong blitz tournament in Menorca, Spain, and I had just realized that I was about to face Grandmaster Daniel Fernandez from England.
Vale, chicos.
This time, there was no small talk.
Start the games.
He sat down, we shook hands, and I started the clock. He considered what move he should start with and ended up playing e4. He seemed very calm in his moves and even fixed all of his pieces before pressing the clock. I played c5 and he went knight f3. I decided to go e6 and he played b3, a kind of unusual move in this position. I played d5 thinking that I will just try to take the center then, and he simply took and I took back. He developed his bishop and I realized that I hadn't really played against this opening, so I was considering what to do. Even the guy next to me seemed to be a bit confused about the position. So I played knight f6 and he played bishop b5 check. I developed my knight blocking the check and he looked up, took a think like grandmasters do, and decided his options. He ended up playing knight e5, threatening now to capture my knight on c6, and I went queen c7, defending everything. He looked a little bit confused and he was looking at me and at the board, and at the end he ended up just castling. I was very happy that he was spending so much time because somehow it gave me a bit of confidence. I was now getting ready for castling myself. He played rook e1. I realized that he now had a very big threat, which was that if I castled, he could go knight takes c6, and after pawn takes bishop takes c6, and if I went queen takes, the bishop on e7 would be hanging. So I went first bishop e6 to prevent the rook from ever being able to capture my bishop on e7, and now I was getting ready to castle. I had a minute more than him on the clock and I was feeling so confident. I thought this is an amazing position for me to have against the Grandmaster. This is a great opening. I started getting a little bit nervous, but was just waiting for his time to tick down, and he took my knight. I took back, he developed, and I very confidently castled. I was trying to keep the extra time on the clock. He went knight e2, and I realized that he wanted to go knight f4. That was his idea. I ended up playing d4 just so that the bishop would not be defending the knight anymore, and he played knight f4 anyways. Looking back at this, I'm realizing how much he's looking up and around the room instead of looking down at the chessboard, and I feel like this is a very Grandmaster thing to do. I had to make a choice here. Do I move my bishop or do I move my knight? I ended up moving my knight to d5, thinking that if he takes my bishop, yes, I will get a weird pawn. However, I will have a really amazing knight that can go up to f4. He played queen g4, threatening the pawn on e6, but also kind of looking towards g7 maybe at some point. I played rook f5, which I don't think was the best move, but I was trying to block the queen from attacking the pawn and also threatening the knight, but he played knight d3 and now the pawn is attacked by the rook as well. I had to defend it. I went queen d6, but now he had this beautiful move bishop a3, which I missed, and I could feel the pressure. He was threatening bishop takes c5 or knight takes c5, and I didn't know how to stop it. Should I go queen d7? Well, then there's knight takes c5 anyways. How do I defend the pawn? I went knight b4. I took, thinking that this was fine, but now my pawns were very weak. He went rook e4, threatening my pawn on d4. I could feel that he was doing grandmaster things, as all of a sudden all my pawns were just a little bit too weak. I could play c5, but I knew that the next rook was coming and then the pawn on e6 would be hanging. I started thinking. I had 30 seconds less than him. I could feel the pressure, and I was just asking myself, how do I get out of this? But more importantly, where did it go so wrong? I ended up playing c5, but he just brought his other rook, and now I was playing as fast as I could. I went queen d5 so that after he took the pawn, my queen wouldn't really be hanging, and I was also trying to maybe go rook g5 and threaten on g2, but he played rook e5, which was a very strong move in between. Now rook g5 was not possible anymore, and I did not know what to do. I ended up taking, he took back, but now my pawn on e6 would be gone and forgotten. I had 5 seconds on the clock. I was trying to do anything. I was desperate. I went queen d8, but then after check, I simply went king f8, but everything was falling apart right now. I was praying that there would be no checkmate, but there was. At least pretty much. Rook f5, and in this position, I resigned because my king cannot go anywhere, and the best thing I can do is to give up my queen, which I'm not going to do against the Grandmaster. So we shook hands, I put the pieces back, and he just laughed. And that was what happened when I played a Grandmaster. I was sad that I had lost the game, but I was also honored that I had played against such a strong player. As I know that Daniel Fernandez is rated around 2,500. I hope you enjoyed this game, and let me know in the comments down below if you've ever played against the Grandmaster. And also let me know how it went. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you all in the next one.